So in this video, I'd like to give you some tips about GDPR and cybersecurity for your website. Just a reminder that every website needs to have this cookie notification at the bottom. It's an EU requirement. And in the last 12 months, that EU requirement changed from having the basic this website uses cookies notification to a more sophisticated option where you need to ask the visitor, do they accept or reject? It's explicitly called out if they want to accept or reject. You can't imply just by using the website you agree with the cookies policy. So they need to accept or reject, and then they can go in and this one is a little bit more sophisticated where they can actually update it every time they visit to accept or reject or change the settings on the website. So a reminder that the old way of doing it might just say the site uses cookies. That's actually not compliant anymore, and that you need to have a specific accept or reject. What that does by accepting that is it will normally fire tracking cookies in the background, and that things like Google Analytics will kick in for your website so that anonymous data about clicks and visits and all of that can be collected. But in some cases, there are more sophisticated marketing tools and marketing code for Facebook ads or Google ads which fire in the background as well. So if you don't want those ads to appear, you just hit reject and it will stop doing that. But as a website owner, you need to have the option there for accept or reject. The other thing that's a requirement is to have a link to the privacy policy on your website. That's usually in the footer. And privacy policy is up to you. The wording is completely up to you. Sometimes there's some boilerplate information out there about the privacy policy. But one of the things we've included is about a link to a consent form, so that if anybody comes to the site and they have previously submitted information to us and they want to have that deleted, well, that under GDPR rules, that is a request for the deletion of that information or the unsubscription, and that's how that's done. So that should be within your privacy policy as well. Just in relation to capturing data for GDPR, what you should have is a housekeeping task within your organization, that as you collect information, typically via forms or online orders, that over time you delete that information. You should only really be keeping data on customers as long as it's relevant and useful in layman's terms. So how useful is data 2 or 3 months after an order has been placed and you've shipped the product or service to the customer? That's up to you to decide. It could be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or whatever. But the sentiment of the GDPR notice is that it's a protection in the event that your website gets hacked. So if your website gets hacked and you have information going back 2 years, then there's a greater exposure for a greater amount of customers. So to reduce that exposure, delete the information, delete the orders, delete the forms. It's really only useful for a certain window of time, so you should really be deleting it. Equally, with all online payments, we use an online payments partner called Stripe, and we never collect the credit card details directly. We offer this interface to Stripe, and Stripe have way more sophisticated security protocols and technology to be able to authorize these credit cards for us, and then handshake back to us to say, yeah, that credit card's good and we'll manage the payment for you. But we never collect this data in email forms or even on the back end of the website. We never see the card numbers. We never see any of these CVC numbers. So equally, your business should do the same. It should never have either on paper based, written down on a notepad in an Excel sheet or anything related to that, anything got to do with credit card numbers. In the event of an exposure of data, not only would that do you reputational damage, but you may have to contact the Irish Data Commissioner as well. So anything, and that has its own implications. So anything you can do within your organization to reduce where you're collecting data under GDPR rules, we'd highly advise that. And we'd also, of course, highly advise having a web maintenance contract to reduce any exposure with hacking into your website. So that's typically, back-end upgrades are done, there's a security monitoring system, there's backups, etc. So that's a service that's provided by us, but it's we would see that as more or less essential nowadays to have a maintenance contract for your website. Not alone to keep your website running smoothly, but also to protect it from ongoing hacking attempts. And you can reach us for that via jascom.ie.